Hey everybody. What is up? How's it going? And welcome to the Port Blue 118 tutorial. It's an extremely difficult course to get the benchmark time of 118 on. As you can see in the bottom left of the stream layout, I've got the 6 players, the only 6 players that have gotten 118. And as you can tell, it's a cast of the top players. And one of our newcomers, Hoshi, who has definitely proven himself worthy of being amongst these other 5 top players as well. And seeing as he got ranked in the first month of him playing, it is fitting that Koira Hoshi's video is going to be our main focus of the day. So congratulations to Hoshi for making the cut of being our feature, but we will watch every one of these 118s and my 117 today as I explain how to get a 118 and some easier setups and things that'll just make things a little bit smoother for you when you're trying to get your 118. Hopefully you're trying to get a 118. It's one of our more prestigious times, I would say. Port Blue and Port Pirates, if you want to call it that, is one of our most difficult courses. It's definitely true, and if you've played it in any fashion, you probably agree with me on that. So, to kind of familiarize yourself with with what our layout is going to look like today, I do have my input viewer hooked up. I'm moving the joystick right now, as you can see. It should look pretty synced up. Also, in the right portion of the screen, I will be showing videos, including first on my on my game. I'm just going to show you the custom settings that I have preferred to use over the time that I've played this course. Now, part of the reason that I use these settings is because it gives me quite a bit good acceleration, which I need because I do lose speed a couple of times in this run, especially after the boat, around the boat turn, we call it. It's the final turn of the course. It's the right turn, and there's that ramp that's like right in the way. I'll show you when we get there what I'm talking about. But it's really good to get a little bit of an extra speed boost. Now, this is not the only way to get a 118. In fact, Hayate has a 118.2, and he's allegedly using something like this. He does also specialize on Marine Fortress and has some similar control styles that he's using there. I might recommend this. It is a little bit more difficult to use, but your times may be able to be better. I'll admit I did try this little type of setup or something like it, and I was unable to beat Hayate's time that he has with that. So kind of comes down to preference. A lot of the settings do. A lot of different settings combinations have world record potential, and just people don't realize it because they're very, very used to playing the game with one thing. That spray bottle was just bothering me because I could see it. I don't mind everything else in the background. Anyway, so now that you've got your control settings, remember also, let me see. So we go into hard mode. You really want to use this camera angle, as you can see. Instead of using this, which is the default, if you're just from right here, hit C up 2 times and you get that little over his head view. And this way, you get a little bit of a better angle so that you can see the lines. You can see the front of the jet ski, which is pretty important. So that's all I really wanted to show at first. Now let's go and talk about some videos, right? So I said that we were going to feature our buddy Koirohoshi, and let's see if I can bring this video up here. So let's go back here, and I'm going to show Hoshi's run first from the his stream perspective, and then we'll break it down from there. So actually, let me get this capture pulled up. So this is pulled straight from his stream. All the videos of that I'm going to show today are just the proof videos that people have, and I'm going to blow Koiro's up so that it's a little bit easier to see as well while we're talking about the analysis part. But for right now, let's talk about this run and talk about Hoshi. Hoshi came onto the scene this past year and just started submitting times, especially in reverse. He has a very strong timesheet on reverse, and then a couple of forward benchmark times as well, which really unexpected from a player so new. It usually takes quite a bit of grinding for a player to get this far, so it was cool to see some really quick, really just quick, impressive times from this player in particular. Now, you'll notice too, Port Blue is really tough because you're using a character that is very sensitive, and the tendency is to overturn and smash into walls, or just be making too many slight adjustments because you're constantly overcorrecting. So one skill that you really want to try to gain really fast is the ability to just go straight the way that you want to without having to adjust very much, if at all. So Hoshi does a good job. This is his first 118, and it's a pretty solid 118. It's a 118.9, I believe. But the low frame, yeah, 937, so it is the low frame 118. So he got it by a couple frames. So how did he do it? Of course, that's what we all want to know. That's why we're all here, right? So let's break it down and talk about the details. So I'm going to blow the screen up here a little bit, get it a little enlarged. We're going to slow things down to about half speed. And we're going to start it at the beginning. So right away, Hoshi's going to go for the max power and get it, of course. And at the beginning, he's going to make just a slight adjustment to the left because he wants to line up with this. There's going to be a wave that meets him here as well, but he wants to be to the left of that buoy and then making that right turn. And then another pretty... Here, I'm going to rewind it a few seconds so that I can explain. There's basically two parts to this turn on lap 1. The first part is a little bit sharp, and then you kind of glide without turning much, and then the second part is also pretty sharp. Those two parts are right now, and then he's gliding right here, and then another sharp portion right here. Do you see? So what this looks like on the controller, I'll kind of play along like I am playing with the input viewer. He's tapping B, he should be a little right, and then right, right. See how the... And I kind of use right, down right. So, here he's like... I wonder if I can frame advance. I don't think I can. No, bummer. What about this one? Nope. Okay. So, he's a little bit right now. He's pushing like right. I mean, he's a little bit off to the left of this buoy, but it's so that he can turn to the right, right? He's turning right, and then he kind of evens out a little bit because he wants to make it to this yellow buoy here and be a little bit to the left of it. Therefore, he can be turning to the right without crashing into it. You want to be turning already when you get to the buoys, pretty much. If you're not already turning when you get to the buoy, it's not. You're going to lose too much speed cutting like too sharp of an angle. So here, the way that he plays it. It's not de-interlaced, I notice. So here he just passed a buoy. I'll get right before this buoy that he passes. And then he's turning right. Stay in the water. Tap B so that he stays in the water. And then a harder right again. And then even out. You can counter steer a little bit there to even out because you do want to even out fast. Now the tunnel, Ilu once said to me the tunnel is mysterious because it is either, you can either lose so much time or gain so much time. And I kind of figured at the time that just meant that we hadn't figured out a really good route for the tunnel or like really good optimization for going through the tunnel. But I think with 117 being achieved, it's a little more obvious what you have to do in the tunnel. And I'll show my video last, but Hoshi does a really good job of keeping as much speed as he can in the tunnel. And we'll watch. We'll go back to the beginning of the tunnel here. Alright, so he's approaching the tunnel, and I gotta say, you want to line up like close to this left part of the entrance of the tunnel so that you don't have to make any adjustments to the left to avoid this wall that's on the right. But you just want to go in at such an angle where you don't have to adjust to the left to avoid the wall on the right. If you understand what I mean, you can just do a straight line here and then turn right around the wall. And that'll save you frames. Save you quite a few frames. So that's pretty much what Hoshi does. There's a little bit of an adjustment to the left. It's not a bad time loss there, because he's also able to hug that right wall around that turn. So, well, that's after the turn. Watch how he does this. He starts with a pretty good line, and then he starts turning right a little bit early, and then that way he can stay closer to the wall. And that's a setup for this turn, which is also very difficult, as a lot of players have found. When you're going around this turn, this is a pretty good line right here, how he's facing this way. And if he starts turning, like in just a couple frames maybe, he'll be able to keep a lot of speed and make it around. There's like this invisible, you can't see it yet. There's like this corner, and it's right on the other side of this wall. Right about where my mouse is going up and down. So, watch. He wants to keep a lot of speed and not run into that while he's turning. But he's got to turn at a sharp enough angle that he avoids the other wall coming out of the turn. Because this is like an S turn. This is only the first part. This is like the bottom of the S. And he still has to go around the top of the S without losing too much speed. So here's the bottom of the S. Bam. Gets it. And then here's the top. Bam. The other way. Even out just a little bit before the sharp right, because the tendency is to crash coming out of the tunnel as well against the wall on the right. But if you just hesitate a little bit before you start turning to the right, you'll avoid the wall coming out of the tunnel. Really important. Let's go back to the tunnel here. I'll just play the whole tunnel again and kind of explain again. Okay, we're lining up. We start turning right a little early, watch the wall, even out a little bit, and then start turning left. Bottom of the S, right, top of the S. And then right. Don't turn right away out of the tunnel because you crash into the wall on the right coming out of the tunnel. Here, now I'll mock with the input viewer what I think he's doing through the tunnel. Keep in mind, my input viewer, I'm just trying to real-time slow down inputs so that they match the slowed down video and it's not actually connected to the video in this case. So he's like B, 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 turning right, B, B, B to grip the water, B, 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 even it out, left, bottom of the S, right, top of the S, slow down the right, turn right hard. Okay, next part. And this part should be very similar on all 3 laps, so just like a lot of my other tutorials, I'll spend a lot more time explaining lap 1. And a lot of the things can still be applied on lap 2 and 3, but I'll point out some like cycle differences between laps 1, 2, and 3 that are noteworthy. So coming out of the tunnel, here's like the middle part of the S, and you can actually start evening out so soon after this turn. Here, watch this. Watch what he does. He's like turning right far before he reaches this turn, far before he reaches this wall here. This is the barrier. This is what you need to make it around primarily. So when you make it around that, I mean, if you're already pretty good into this lane, you're going to be able to be closer to the wall on the right, again saving frames. As long as you can make it around this turn right here. You can actually do this without getting so close to the left wall here and still keep a lot of speed. Like, look at the speed that he keeps. It's like 86 was the low speed around that turn. That's incredible. So good stuff to Hoshi. Let's go to this part. A lot of people get confused with this part because they're trying to go straight at this buoy. Now, don't go straight at it. What you really want to do is approach it like going towards this white sign behind it. And then when you get to about here where you see my mouse, like, I don't know, about here, then hook it to the left. Like, pretty hard, because there's this wave coming too, and you want to grip the water by tapping B, pushing left a couple of times, and line it up with like the left, line it up with like being just right of this red buoy. So here he goes, an all input viewer mock again. And I like to tap forward when I'm going over those waves a little bit. Okay, so now that we're at the boat turn, this is the dreaded boat turn that I was talking about. Alright, so here's the tunnel exit, and I'll play it all the way to the boat turn, and I'll kind of explain the boat turn while we're going through it. So he's like right. He's turning left. Good job avoiding the buoys. And just try to keep a straight line here. Know where you're going. Like, keep your head up. You're going a little bit around this. And then if you go like left, right there, the jet ski will actually stay in the water a little bit better. Watch, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Around this boat turn, he's just like barely going to the right because he just wants to stay kind of close to the boat without ruining the angle for the boat turn. And if you know what I'm talking about, if you approach the boat turn at the wrong angle, it pretty much forces you to go over the ramp. You don't want to go over the ramp, so give yourself a couple of feet from the boat, like Hoshi is right here. A couple feet from the boat. And there's like these two corners of the boat. And shout outs to Bunta, one of my beloved subscribers. Thanks, bro. Got my chat up on the on the laptop next to me. Okay, back to this. So he's evened out after the wave, right here, and just making small adjustments so that he doesn't hit the boat. There's like this corner of the boat right here, and then there's another corner of the boat right up here that he has to make it around without touching. Because trust me, Jeter, if you touch anything with this guy, he's going to fall off the jet ski. So you really want to give yourself a couple of feet here. Moving on. Watch the movement with the joystick. He goes like left to have the jet ski turn and avoid the ramp a little bit, and then he goes right to get around the boat. Making that little adjustment left keeps the jet ski away from the ramp for just a moment. Like, watch. Left, right. Like, if you don't do that left, you're more inclined to, like, hit the corner of the ramp, which is okay to touch a little bit. You just don't want to jump off of the ramp. You don't want to go out of the water. It's going to lose you time on Port Blue. Lap 2. Okay, just at the beginning of lap 2, just get this lined up really early. Get this lined up as soon as you can. Already have it lined up before you even cross the finish line if you can. Have it lined up so that you're already going in between these buoys. Not too close to the yellow one, because you know you have to go around the yellow one. You're going to be making a right turn around the yellow one. And we're going to do kind of that same thing where it's like a two-part turn, but there's a wave like right in the middle of the turn this time, so I'll show you how to deal with that. So he's like B, 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 tapping B a lot, just trying to stay lined up here. Now on the down bob, it's good to start the turn. Now on this wave, just try to get back into the water. Don't worry too much about losing too much speed. If you can stay around 100, that's awesome. That means that you are doing really well managing the waves with the B button. Of course, B tapping, if you don't know, B tapping is just a great way to stay in the water. Think of it as a stabilizer. Stops you from bobbing way up and down out of the water. You'll still bob. The game has that natural up and down bobbing motion, but you're not as likely to be flung way out of the water with this technique. Oh, oops. Oh, that's fine. We'll just start it over. Anyway, let's go back to the turn there, the two-part turn. So this is the beginning of lap 2. So he's got it lined up really early. Look at the speed. 117, 118, 115, that's all fine. He's starting the turn, and here's the wave. If you can skim this wave, perfect. Get back in the water without going too much below 100, and line this up again. Maybe just a very slight left to line it up inside of the tunnel so that you can make it around that wall. The less slight left adjustment into the tunnel that you have to make, the better. Let's back it up because it's getting a little ahead of me again. So Hoshi here, this is actually the entry to the tunnel he does a better job in lap 2 than he did on lap 1. Because look at how small of an adjustment to the left he has to make before the first turn inside the tunnel. So he's going. Now is the left adjustment. See him leaning a little bit? Like if it were perfect, he would already be like lined up like this. But he's kind of lined up like this right now, which would have, of course, hit that wall. So instead of keeping that line, he's going to make a slight adjustment to the left so that he can just go right without having to turn sharp to the left and lose a bunch of speed. This just goes to show the earlier that you can make your adjustment and be done with it and forget about adjustments again because you've made your adjustment to a perfect angle, the earlier you can do that, the faster you're going to go in all cases. There's literally no case where losing a ton of speed, making a super sharp angle, is faster than doing gradual angles to an extent. Like, there is a happy medium between the sharpness of your angle and the speed loss. But in no case is a 90-degree angle ever going to be faster than that mix of a good angle that you set up really early and the lack of speed loss that way. Like, just combine those two and you'll easily start beating all of my records. Just make sure that you don't lose that much speed. Always be thinking about, how am I going to make this line? And think about the path that you're taking around a turn. How am I going to make that line the shortest that I can while maintaining as much speed as I can? Let's make that ratio better and better. Like the angle, make the line shorter, make the speed higher, as high as you can keep it, and keep that ratio as high as you can. Well, anyway, Hoshi does a really good job on lap 2, lining this turn up as soon as he can. Like, right now, it's pretty well lined up. He just gives himself another couple of frames, and now he can start pushing right to get around this right turn. So here it goes. He's close to the wall, That's good. That's actually really good. He needs to make a right adjustment here so that he can avoid the obstacles here on the left while he makes the left turn, the first part of the S turn. So he does a really sharp S turn there because he was pretty close to the left wall. If he's further to the right inside of the tunnel, he can make this a bit of a more gradual turn. I would say that this is slightly on the inside of what you want for that ratio of speed loss to angle. If he can go a little bit more to the outside, we'd be talking a little bit more about like a lower 118. But since he does keep quite a bit of speed, I think I saw like 75 maybe before this. 75, yeah. 75 was the low speed of that turn, and then on the top of the S we reached down to about 73, another pretty good speed. And this is pretty good because he's like right in the middle, maybe a little bit off to the right inside of the tunnel. And so what he can do is start this turn just a little bit earlier and come really close to this wall. Like, this close. Look at how close this is. I'm going to try to go up one frame. Did you see how close that was? It went 2 frames, but very close to the wall on the right. Lines up a little bit to the right of this red buoy once again. And then starts turning left on the down bob. I like to do that too because that lets you turn pretty sharply. And you can be a little bit more liberal with the B button on down bobs. If you're being super liberal and not tapping B very much on up bobs, you'll end up like skidding on the water. Like, instead of going shh, you'll go like shh, like way off to the side. It's really frustrating. Some other top players have also expressed frustration about that mechanic to me. It's something that affects me too, but if you turn on down bobs, it just makes it so that you have way more control over your angles. But if you're not expecting it, you just get flung right into the wall when you're trying to turn. You just go straight into a wall because you hold the turn for too long on the joystick and you're hitting the wall. Well, let's play here. Just trying to stay in the water, tapping B. I like to tap forward again on those waves so that the nose of the water goes back into the nose of the jet ski goes back into the water faster. Again, Hoshi's got really good boat turns. Honestly, if I have one thing to say about this run that stands out above the rest, are like lap 1 and 2's boat turns. I think are the best parts of his run. And that just goes to show how important the boat turns are, because they can, honestly, they can make a run a 118 that it might, I mean, he was solid on other spots as well, but you could actually get a 118.999 or something with just really great boat turns and basic everything else. So here's before the boat turn. watch how he keeps the jet ski in the water. Kind of turns towards the boat. That's a little bit too much, but he survives this. Turns towards the boat. And then he keeps the jet ski away from the ramp by pushing to the left a little bit. And then to the right. Now he's already like to the right a little bit because he wants to get around the boat. There we go. Evening it out. Now, lap 3, he's going to hit that wave again. Interesting fact, if you're on 117 pace, you can avoid the wave coming up here. But 118 pace, here's the wave. You can actually use this wave to assist you in turning around that buoy. It makes it kind of difficult, but he does a pretty good job on it. Again, staying close to the right wall makes it easier to do the S turn as well if you're close to the right wall. And then turning around here, I'm not stopping so much in the final lap because a lot of this is the same as it was on lap 2 and on lap 1 even. Kind of slightly turn, and then let's talk about the last lap boat turn. It is slightly different than laps 1 and 2 because you don't need to get that buoy. It's actually a little bit slower to get the final buoy than it is to just go directly to the finish line and finish close to the right post of the finish line, because that's the closest part of the finish line. I actually like to go to the right of the finish line. Just finish in between the finish line and the boat. Be careful doing that. I've lost runs by crashing into the finish line and missing my time by 1/10 of a second or something. So Hoshi actually takes the ramp on an up bob, which is kind of difficult because then you're like bound to take it a certain way, I suppose. So Hoshi hits the ramp here and just kind of takes this line over with a super sharp turn. Here. Boom. And he does kind of smack the boat a little bit here, but it's okay. If you're turning pretty sharp, and this is like 50-50. You can smack the boat and survive, or you can smack the boat and be dead. And be dead, I mean just fall off the jet ski. And it sucks because this is the last lap. You don't want to do that. But he gets a little bit of the boat to the face, but he survives. And he makes the right turn, skips the buoy, and finishes on the inside of the finish line close to the right. And it's a 9.37. Now, let's watch everybody's 118 down the line. So first of all, let's start with Hoshi's. We'll watch it again in real time. All right. Something tells me that that's not real time. Alright, so Hoshi gets the max power. He doesn't do it in slow-mo, but... Alright. Close to that right wall. Gets the S turn. You can always start the turns for the S turn sooner than you think. Approach that section when you're coming up to the boat from the right of the red buoy. That way you have more room to turn in. Lap 2, you got the wave here to contend with. Just try to get back into the water. Remember that turn is always like a 2-part turn. The first buoy and the last buoy. You can kind of make a straight line in between the first and the last buoy, even though there's a buoy in between them, I know, of that first turn. Boat turn, keep the jet ski in the water if you can by making slight adjustments to the left, which pushes the jet ski to the right. It's interesting, but you can actually fit that jet ski in the slot between the ramp and the boat temporarily for that boat turn. Honestly, and the more you can make the S turn more like a Z turn, or an S that just goes like that. I don't know, what would you call that? Like an S that doesn't actually curve all the way back up for the second part, but if you can make it like a diagonal down, if you know what I mean, you'll probably benefit from that. You don't have to turn all the way back to the left before you start turning to the right. And Hoshi saves his ghost like a pro. Good job, Hoshi. So that's Hoshi's 118.937. Let's take a trip up north, back over to the North American continent, and we'll visit our friend Mo here. Mo, of course, a top 5 player, currently ranked 4th on the Shibby list. He's definitely going up. I mean, let's face it, he's one of our strongest players, probably the player of the year in 2017. Let me get rid of Hoshi's tag here, and the display capture, we'll change it over to this. This is Mo, our friend from Canada, with his first 118. I don't know if this is still his PB. He likes to hoard times and show us a little bit later. But Mo with a really strong showing, another 118.9. I think he was only like the 4th or 5th player to get 118. I think he was the 5th. No, he was actually the 4th to report it, but later we found out that Analog had one. Doesn't matter. I think we could, since he didn't have proof, Analog, let's give the 4th ever 118 to Mo. Am I right? So, of course, Mo, he takes like the corner of the ramp, and then that way he doesn't lose much speed going around the turn. It ends up with a different angle around the turn, but I think it's more speed overall. It's that speed angle ratio that I'm talking about. He's just choosing to go a little bit more on the speed side, a little bit less on the angle side. Like the sharp angle cuts down on the amount of line that you need to take, but it adds time because you lose speed. See what I mean? Like if you take a sharp angle, let's say I have to go around this point. If I take a sharp angle around it, I am like minimizing the amount of distance I have to take in comparison to a round angle. But I lose more speed doing the sharp angle, so you have to find that sweet spot. What's going to save me the most time? Like, what combination is going to save me the most time? That's what you have to think. The next 118 to watch is the Great Ilu Dude. His volume is a little bit low, but this was from a stream. We actually just found this. This was from October of 2015. So this was like 2 years old when we found it, because we just found it last month. But Ilu was one of the, I think he was like the 2nd player to get 118 also. It was like me, and then a couple days later him. He took the record back from me. This is one of the last records that Ilu's had the record on. This is one of the last courses that he's had the record on. The other 2, of course, Drake Lake he still has, but the last one that he lost, other than the 1 lap on Drake Lake, the final record that Ilu lost was Glacier Coast. Ilu shows great control with M. Jeter, or Jeter, however you want to pronounce the character's name. Ilu is probably the smoothest player among us, and it does translate really well to Jeter. I think the reason that he doesn't do dives so much on Marine Fortress is because of the dive itself. So he does, since he's not as comfortable with that, this is more of a Ilu type of course. And a .722 is his run here. He takes in between the finish line and the boat also.
Hey, at least I got a PR.
He says, at least I got a PR. see if he says anything else. I can't remember.
Maybe I'll continue a few more minutes because of that before I switch games.
That's a good PR too. That's 2 frames
But that
faster than
the world record seems
than
crazy.
his old PR.
Sub
And this was 2 years ago, so those PRs, I call them PBs, personal records, personal bests. They're the same thing.
probably should be.
But any PB is a PB in my mind, you know. The next on the list is analogism, and this was just last week. Yeah, this was just last week, so it's pretty recent. And looking here, let's take a look. He's got his camera pointed at the TV so that you can see that it's an actual like CRT that he's playing on. The analog keeps it really close to the wall, and look at how tight his S-turn is. Makes a little adjustment to the right before he got to the buoy section of the boat there. And Analog's game plan there is to just hug the boat until after the turn. And you can kind of use the boat to catch the right of your jet ski, and it helps you turn to the right. Because if you think about it, it slows down the right of the jet ski, and then the left of the jet ski has all the momentum, so it's really easy to like turn to the right really hard. Just a little bit of a tricky mechanic to be able to use usefully. There he does the kind of on that boat turn he kind of does the right left right thing that I was talking about to get close to the boat and then keep the jet ski in the water. Whoa, he kind of made it look like he was going to go through the long route, didn't he? Another really good tunnel. I like when players keep the S-turn really close to the obstacles that you have to go around. And he finishes between the finish line and the boat, as has kind of become traditional with the top players. I think it is a little bit shorter. It's so close. I mean, going in between the finish line and in the boat, it might just be swag points. That's how close it is. It might just be for the swag. Next up is Hayate, our former champion, and this was a run. I believe he added some music to it too. It's a little bit louder than the other runs that we've watched. So this is March 29th, 2016. It's about a little more than a year and a half old, and it's a 118.2. So this will be the best run not by me that we watched today. And here it is. Hayate, I think, has some pretty good capture quality also. And he understands too, when you play the game without music on, you can add your own music in the background and keep all your in-game sound effects. It's perfect. Hayate extremely close to the walls in the tunnel. We'll need to kind of, I mean, you should watch this video on your own and just take a look at how close that is. Like, slow it down and just watch. 27.2 is his first lap. Really, really good. And of course, the faster you are, the earlier in the wave cycles you're going to be, so you'll see waves that are less mature, and they actually are more problematic that way too, so you have to find new ways to deal with them. That would be for you guys to figure out, because this is not a 117 tutorial. 117 is pretty tough. It's doable, for sure, and a lot of players in the forum will probably have a 117 in the next year or two. Hayate, just of the understanding that you get turns set up early and you'll benefit from that big time. Hayate kind of goes into the finish line. He says, you know what, I can tell you're not going to gain much time from going in between. And there is a risk involved with going in between the boat and the finish line, I'll admit. So we'll watch him enter his initials, HYT, hit. And of course, why not end the day with a little bit of a pop-off? Here's my recent 117.8. So 117, still untied today, but I think that this might be one of the easier ones to tie. Close to the wall, as close as you can. Make these close as well. Try to maintain speed. Get the turn set up a little early. You can see on my input viewer there what I mean by turning to the right and then turning to the left a little bit to avoid the ramp and then turning to the right hard around the boat. It does get hard to clutch things when you're on a really good pace. I said in the chat yesterday, I like to think that I have good control over my vitals when I play Wave Race. However, every time I'm on pace, my heart just about explodes. So, I think that was a pretty realistic quote, too. Of course, this is the last run we're going to watch today. Get to enjoy a little shibby pop-off.
Yes!
Look at that relief. I don't even care that my headphones are falling off. So Port Blue is a really hype course. I really hope that more people end up playing it. You do have to be pretty careful, like in general. With this character, you need to be really careful. Be more gradual with the stick. Use small taps left and right. Only use the corners of the joystick, like the bottom left and bottom right corner, when it's like a really desperate moment. Like, you don't have to use that very often on this course with this character. That's more of a Dave Mariner strategy anyway. So in closing, just to get a 118 on Port Blue, it's so demanding. You really need to be on point, for one. Be on point. Don't hesitate. Try to make your adjustments as soon as you realize you need them, or just try to realize that you need them even earlier than you realize now. Like, watch your own videos. Watch your own videos so that you can see, okay, I need it to line up like I need it to line up like now. Why am I not lining up yet? You can kind of see that kind of thing earlier in your own videos as you're progressively getting better and better. But thank you to Hoshi for being the star of our show today of the 118 tutorial, and to everyone else who has scored a 118 or better on Port Blue, also known as Port Pirates. Thank you for watching the tutorial. If you like these, I am really excited to announce the next one, which will be very special. It is my favorite course, the first course that I ever got a world record on, and one of my favorites today, still actually my favorite today, will be the Twilight City tutorial. And what's extra special about it is it's going to take me quite a bit longer than a regular tutorial, because I'm actually going to be doing a Port Blue 123 tutorial. 123 is currently an untied, and it has been for a long time. Let me see. Let's pull it up, and I'll see how long. Actually, I have a better way to find it. Okay. 123 has been untied since October 27th, 2015, for 2 whole years. So, let me make a tutorial, and I'll kind of help somebody else get there. Somebody else can join me on the 123 bandwagon, and then if a third person does, that's going to be the most insane benchmark in Wave Race. Most insane benchmark in Wave Race. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I hope you guys have a good day.